everybody, Michael here, the rain coach with Green Venture, and welcome to my rainscape. So this journey actually started for me back in 2008 at the University of Waterloo, where I did my undergraduate education on geography and environmental management. And it was really courses like ecology, wetlands, hydrology, even courses on rivers and managing the urban environment. And it kind of led me to something action-based. Gardening and landscaping is something that is very practical, it's very rewarding, it's very visible. You can clearly see the fruits of your labor very quickly. So that's really where it started for me, and what I wanted to be able to do was help my watershed wherever I was. So it doesn't always have to be at a conservation land, it doesn't always have to be on big urban parks, it can be in your own backyard or in your own front yard in this case. So with this particular rain garden, we have to talk about the downspouts because that's where the rain starts. It's essentially taking all the water from 2/3 of the roof on this small East Mountain bungalow. When we originally moved in, the house had connected downspouts, so we noticed that we had water in the basement on both sides of the house right where the downspouts were. So we had to disconnect the downspouts and find a creative way to incorporate that water into the landscape. And I didn't want to just send the water to the storm sewer, I didn't want to just put it onto the lawn. So that's why I had to build a rain garden to incorporate that water into the landscape, and obviously it helps water these plants and bring nature into the site. So once the downspouts were disconnected and directed into the garden, we created these stone inlets to dissipate the force of the water, and there's one on each downspout on this particular garden. Okay, so from the inlets, the water then flows through this bowl portion. Now this is the main engine of the rain garden. This is where the water is going to be settling and absorbing into the ground. Now recently I had to dig out a little bit of this bowl portion because over time sediment and organic material will build up and decrease the depth. So to get more infiltration, I just dug this out a little bit. That's why it's a little bit bare. But under ideal circumstances, as in next year, 2 years from now, this will all be vegetated so that you're harnessing the power of the plants to absorb that water. And this stone patch in the front is the outlet. So if it's full and still receiving water, water can flow through onto the lawn. So the main species composition in here is mostly goldenrod, aster, grasses, and some other perennial wildflowers. I really went for the meadow look because it suits my aesthetic. So I always encourage people to make their rain garden your own. There's no cookie cutter, kind of footprint that it has to look like this. So get creative with it and use plants that speak to your taste. In here I have some Canada goldenrod. That was actually a volunteer. I didn't plant it. I have to control it, of course. There's a decent amount of maintenance that goes into that, but it's a part of it that I enjoy. There's also lots of Echinacea purpurea. There's some biennial black-eyed Susans. There's lots of carex grasses. There's little blue stem ferns as well. Here, which is about to bloom, we have some Lobelia cardinalis, about 5 different types of sedges, as I mentioned before. Some hostas that my neighbor gave me. I don't typically plant hostas myself, but I appreciate that they have a different leaf structure than everything else. So it's a nice little contrast between all of the different leaves and blades that are in here. So when we originally built the rain garden in 2017 with Hamilton Naturalist Club, we actually didn't plant it at all. So everything that's in here is within 3 years old. And you have to remember with native plants, in the first year they sleep, and then they creep, and then they leap. So expect it to be different and growing every year. So when we moved in 2016, this whole area was really wet, and this is actually right where we had water getting into the basement. So we built a little rain garden in this area. We extended the downspout over the walkway, put it into a rain barrel here, and raised up this area so we could store our garbages and stuff like that. And also surrounded them with wildflowers so that they would be hidden from the street. So this rain barrel I actually don't use to water plants. I really just use it as a temporary storage reservoir to take pressure off the landscape. So as the rain barrel fills and it overflows, it just falls down this little stone path at the lot line and then eventually out down further into the front yard.